Welcome, dear story lovers, to another exciting series. I hope you enjoyed the last two series, The Agony of an 8-Year-Old and the series on Unrequited Love, of course. This new series is titled, How the World Turned Bad. And in this first episode, we will be looking at the correction of an honest heart. Are you ready? Grab your seat and let's dive right in. The morning sun bathed the bustling streets of Accra with golden light as vendors pulled out their wares in the vibrant marketplace. Kofi, a young trader in his late 20s, stood behind his modest produce stall. The scent of ripe mangoes and freshly plucked tomatoes filled the air, blending with the hum of the lively crowd. Unlike many traders in the market, Kofi was known for his unwavering honesty. His vegetables were fresh, his prices were fair, and his scales were always accurate. For Kofi, integrity was a legacy. His late father, also a trader, had always said, "Integrity is wealth, my son. People may forget your goods, but they will never forget your honesty." Those words had guided Kofi since he started his business. Yet, despite his dedication, Kofi struggled to make sales. One hot afternoon, a middle-aged woman approached Kofi's stall. Her name was Auntie Grace, a familiar face in the market. She smiled warmly, glancing at his wares. "Good afternoon, Kofi. Do you have fresh fruits today?" Kofi hesitated. The truth weighed heavily on his conscience. The fruits he had left were the remnants of the previous day, slightly bruised and not as fresh. "Good afternoon, Auntie Grace," Kofi replied. "I'm sorry, but I only have leftovers from yesterday's stock. They are still good, but not as fresh as you might want." Auntie Grace nodded, her smile fading slightly. "Ah, I see. Thank you for your honesty, Kofi. I'll check elsewhere." As she walked away, Kofi's chest tightened. He watched her head straight to the stall across of it, owned by Malik, a flamboyant trader known for his charm and cunning. Auntie Grace repeated her question to Malik, who smiled broadly and gestured to his goods. "Fresh? Auntie Grace, my fruits are as fresh as the morning dew," Malik said confidently, though Kofi knew Malik had bought the same batch of overripe produce from the wholesale market. Without hesitation, Auntie Grace bought nearly everything Malik had. Kofi's heart sank as he watched Malik's stall empty out while his own remained untouched. Later that evening, as the market began to wind down, Kofi approached Malik, unable to contain his frustration. "Malik, why do you deceive your customers like that?" Kofi demanded, his voice firm but calm. "You told Auntie Grace your fruits were fresh when they weren't. That's not right." Malik chuckled, a sly grin spreading across his face. "Ah, Kofi, my brother," he said, placing a hand on Kofi's shoulder. "This is the market. It's not about what's right. It's about what sells. The end justifies the means. Look at you, honest as ever, and yet your stall is always full of unsold goods. Integrity doesn't pay bills." Kofi shook his head, feeling a mix of anger and helplessness. "But what about trust? What about people who rely on us for quality produce?" "Trust?" Malik laughed. "People trust what they see and hear, not the truth. Learn to play the game, Kofi, or you will always lose." Days turned into weeks, and Kofi's struggles grew worse. He barely managed to sell enough to cover his store's rent. His mother's ill health took a turn for the worse, and the cost of her surgery loomed over him like a dark cloud. Kofi visited friends and relatives pleading for help, but their pockets were as empty as his own. One evening, as Kofi sat by his mother's bedside, a frail hand gripping his, she whispered, "Kofi, you have always been a good son. Don't let this world change you. But if there's a way to save me, please don't hold back." Her words, though well-meaning, felt like a dagger. Kofi couldn't bear the thought of losing his mother, but the weight of his financial struggles was crushing him. The next morning, Mr. Mensah, an old trader with years of experience, stopped by Kofi's stall. "Kofi," Mr. Mensah said, stroking his gray head, "you are a good man, but the world doesn't reward honesty. If you want to survive in this market, you need to adapt. Buy cheaper produce and tell the customers it is fresh. They will never know the difference." Kofi stared at Mr. Mensah, his chest tightening. He had always admired the old trader, but this advice felt like a betrayal of everything he stood for. "I don't think I can do that," Kofi replied quietly. Mr. Mensah sighed, shaking his head. "Suit yourself, but remember, integrity won't save your stall or your mother." Desperation finally broke Kofi's resolve. The following day, he went to the wholesale market and purchased a batch of overripe fruit at a fraction of the cost. When customers asked if the produce was fresh, he forced a smile and echoed Malik's words. "Yes, my fruit are as fresh as the morning dew." To Kofi's surprise and dismay, his sales skyrocketed. For the first time in months, his stall was empty by midday. With the profits, he managed to schedule for his mother's surgery. But the triumph was short-lived. That evening, as Kofi counted his earnings, he felt a pang of guilt. He remembered Auntie Gracie's face, how she had trusted him. The betrayal of his own principles gnawed at him. Kofi's new strategy continued to yield financial success, but the guilt never left. One day, a young mother approached his stall with a little boy. She handed Kofi a last CD and said, "Thank you, Kofi. You have always been the one trader we can trust. My son loves your fruits." Her words hit him like a thunderbolt. As the mother walked away, Kofi stared at the coins in his hands, his stomach churning. He realized that his deceit was not just a betrayal of his principles, but also a betrayal of the people who depended on him. Kofi's journey from honesty to corruption was complete, and with it came the sobering realization that the world had forced its hand. Malik's words echoed in his mind. The hand justifies the means. Though Kofi's profits soared, his heart was heavy. He had saved his mother, but at the cost of his integrity. Every smile from his satisfied customer felt like a stab, a reminder of the trust he no longer deserved. In the quiet moments, Kofi would sit at his stall, watching the sunset over the market and wondering if the price of survival was too high. His story became a symbol of how the world, in its relentless demand for success at any cost, turns good people bad. Kofi's stall thrived, but deep down he knew he had lost something far more valuable than money: his peace, his integrity, and his honest heart. And with that, we've come to the end of the first episode, The Corruption of an Honest Heart. I hope you enjoyed the story. Remember that this is a story that can make the world great again. We can only achieve this if only we get these words to the right place and places. Welcome, fellow lovers of ghost stories, to the second episode in the ongoing How the World Became Bad series. I hope you enjoyed the first episode and learned valuable lessons from the storyline. Without any ado, let's dive right into this episode as we look at the rise of a corrupt leader, with a major lesson in this second part bordering on the price of ambition. Come along. The village of Tutu was a small and beautiful African community that was surrounded by green hills and mountains. The people were kind and hardworking, but life in the village was very difficult. The roads were bad, the schools had no books, and the clinic had no medicine. For many years, the leaders in Tutu had failed to improve the village. They only cared about themselves and stole money meant for the people. Then came Aqua, a young woman full of energy and dreams. She had grown up in Tutu, and she understood the struggles of the villagers. Aqua had gone to the city to get an education and had returned with a big vision to make Tutu a better place. Her words were powerful, and her actions showed she cared deeply for her people. When the time came to choose a new leader, everyone agreed that Aqua should be their chief. The villagers believed in her and thought she would finally bring the changes they had been longing for. Aqua became the youngest chief in Tutu's history, and their entire village celebrated a victory with song and dances. As the new chief, Aqua started her work with great enthusiasm. She held meetings with the villagers, asking them what they needed the most. People talked about schools, a proper hospital, and clean water. Aqua promised to make these things happen. She was determined to prove that she could be different from the corrupt leaders of the past. Soon, Aqua was able to get some money from the government and from donors who wanted to help Tutu. She used the funds to begin building a school and a hospital. Bulldozers came to clear the land, and workers started construction. Everyone in the village was happy and excited, singing praises of Aqua. Abel, an elder in the village and Aqua's mentor, was especially proud of her. "Remember, Aqua," he told her one day, "leadership is a big responsibility. You must always do what is right for the people." Aqua smiled and nodded. She believed she was on the right path. But Aqua soon realized that being a leader was not easy as she thought. Contractors working on the school and hospital started asking for extra payment, saying they wouldn't finish the work unless they were paid under the table. This confused Aqua. She wanted to do things the right way, but she also didn't want the projects to stop. One of her advisors, Kwame, came to her with a suggestion. "Chief Aqua," Kwame said, lowering his voice, "this is how things are done. If you want the work to continue, you will need to pay them something extra. Think of it as helping the projects move forward." Aqua hesitated. "But Kwame, the money belongs to the people. Isn't this stealing?" Kwame shook his head. "It's not stealing. It's just how the system works. The villagers won't care as long as the work gets done." After thinking about it, Aqua gave in. "The village comes first," she told herself, trying to justify her decision. This small compromise was the beginning of a series of bad decisions. Over time, Aqua became more comfortable with doing things the wrong way. She began to approve payments for things that were not necessary, and her advisors encouraged her to take even bigger risks. As the months went by, Aqua's leadership started to look very different. She began hosting expensive parties and began traveling to other countries for meetings that weren't even needed. The projects in Tutu slowed down because the money meant for them was being spent on Aqua's new lifestyle. Villagers started to notice the delays and became frustrated. They whispered among themselves, wondering if Aqua had become just like the other leaders before her. One evening, during a meeting with the villagers, Abel stood up. His voice was filled with sadness as he addressed Aqua directly. "Aqua," he said, "we trusted you. You promised us schools, hospitals, and clean waters. But the projects are not finished. What is happening?" Aqua avoided his eyes. "These things take time," she said defensively. "You need to be patient." The villagers didn't believe her. They began to lose faith in the woman they had once admired. What Kwame didn't know was that Kwame, her trusted advisor, had been secretly collecting evidence of her wrongdoings. When investigative journalists came to the village to look into the delays, Kwame saw a chance to protect himself. He gave the journalists proof of Aqua's corruption, bank statements, fake contracts, and recordings of conversations. The news spread quickly. On TV and radios, reporters showed pictures of Aqua at fancy parties, while the projects in Tutu remained unfinished. The villagers were outraged. They gathered in the town square, shouting for her to step down as chief. Aqua was shocked and betrayed. She couldn't believe that Kwame, the person she had trusted the most, had exposed her. That night, Aqua sat alone in a mansion. She felt heavy with guilt and regret. Her once beautiful dream of changing Tutu had turned into a nightmare. Abel came to visit her. Seeing her broken and ashamed, he placed a hand on her shoulder. "Aqua," he said softly, "you had a good heart, but you let greed and fear take control. The people needed a leader and you let them down." Aqua looked at him, tears streaming down her face. "Abel, I wanted to do good things for Tutu, but the system was too strong. I didn't know how to fight it." Abel sighed. "The world is a hard place, Aqua, but we always have a choice. You made the wrong ones. Now you must face the consequences." The next day, Aqua prepared to resign. She wanted to apologize to the villagers and take responsibility for her actions. But before she could, more shocking news reached Tutu. Kwame had run away with millions of the villagers' funds. The betrayal was too much for Aqua to bear. That evening, alone in a room, Aqua wrote a letter. She admitted all her mistakes and explained how she had lost her way. "I wanted to change the world," she wrote, "but the world changed me. I became everything I once hated." The next morning, Aqua's lifeless body was found in her home. She had taken her own life, unable to live with the guilt. The people of Tutu mourned Aqua deeply. They remembered her as a young woman who had once wanted to do great things but had been destroyed by greed and bad choices. Her story became a warning to others about the dangers of corruption and the pressures of leadership. Aqua's rise and fall showed how the world often pushes good people to make bad decisions. In the end, her life was a painful reminder that integrity is hard to keep in a corrupt system, but losing it comes at a great cost. And with that, we've come to the end of the second episode, The Rise of a Corrupt Leader, The Price of Ambition. I hope you have picked a valuable lesson from this episode. Thank you for watching to the very end. While we await the next episode, Kindly share your thoughts on this video in the comment section. I welcome you to the third episode. Thank you for watching the second episode. I hope you've learned a lot from the story of the rise of a corrupt leader. Now in this third episode, we want to look at the cheating game, dreams of a better future. Please come along as we dive right in. Zainab Adetola was a bright and ambitious teenager growing up in the bustling city of Ibadan, Nigeria. The daughter of a palm oil trader, Baba Adetola, and a seamstress, Mama Adetola, Zainab was the pride of her community. She dreamed of becoming a doctor to uplift her family and make a difference in her society. Her parents sacrificed daily to ensure she stayed in school. Despite the long hours her father spent at the market and the nights her mother worked by candlelight, they always encouraged Zainab. "Education is the ladder, my child," Baba Adetola often told her. "Climb it and you'll reach the stars." Zainab, inspired by their sacrifices, studied diligently. Her hard work made her a top student at Ibadan Central Academy, a prestigious school with a reputation for producing some of Nigeria's finest professionals. Unbeknownst to Zainab, her school's glowing reputation masked a dark reality. As exam season approached, rumors of teachers selling questions to affluent families began to swirl. Students who couldn't afford to play the game were left to rely solely on their own effort. One afternoon, Zainab overheard a conversation between her classmates Bolu and Amaka during break time. "Mr. Ajayi asked the chemistry questions," Bolu whispered. "My dad already paid him. By next week, I'll be ready to ace the test." Amaka laughed. You are lucky. My parents are negotiating for the biology paper. These exams are just business as usual." Zainab clenched her fist. It was unfair. She worked tirelessly, but how could she compete with students who bought their way to the top? Zainab's closest friend, Alima, was a confidant and study partner. Together, they shared dreams of success and late-night study sessions. But even Alima was not immune to the pressure. One evening, Zainab visited Alima at her home. "Alima, I heard some students are buying exam questions," Zainab said. Halima avoided eye contact. "Zainab, things are not as straightforward as you think. My uncle insisted we buy the questions. He said it's the only way to secure a scholarship to the university." Zainab's heart sank. "How could you, Alima? You're better than this." "I don't have a choice," Alima snapped. "Not all of us can afford to play fair, Zainab. Life is a game, and only the smart ones survive." The pressure mounts. Despite the growing corruption, Zainab stayed true to her values. Her dedication earned her respect from a few teachers, but it also made her a target. One teacher in particular, Mr. Ajayi, saw her integrity as a threat. Known for his unscrupulous behavior, he had a history of preying on vulnerable students. One day, after biology class, Mr. Ajayi called Zainab to his office. "You're a brilliant student, Zainab," he said, his tone almost kind. "But brilliance isn't enough in this world. Let me help you. For a small favor, I can ensure you top the class." Zainab frowned. "I don't need help to succeed, sir." His smile faded. "Be careful, Zainab. Stubbornness can cost you more than you know." At home, Zainab confided in her father, who immediately decided to sell his prized motorbike to cover her exam fees. "This is my gift to you, my daughter," Baba Adetola said, handing her the money. "Use it to show them that honesty still matters." On the day of the biology exam, Zainab was prepared. But as the test began, Mr. Ajayi suddenly entered the hall and accused her of having a cheat sheet. He brandished a crumpled paper with answers Zainab had never seen before. "Cheating will not be tolerated," he declared, dragging her out of the hall. The other students whispered as Zainab pleaded her innocence. The principal, Mr. Okon, summoned Zainab to his office. "This right here is a serious accusation, Zainab," he said. "Cheating is unacceptable and we must set an example." "But I didn't cheat. But I didn't," Zainab cried. "Someone planted the paper." A protest fell on deaf ears. The next day, Zainab was expelled, her name tarnished and her dreams shattered. As the news spread, Zainab discovered a shocking truth. Halima, a friend, had been the one to plan the cheat sheet under Mr. Ajayi's orders. Desperate to secure her family's approval, Halima had betrayed her best friend. When Zainab confronted her, Halima broke down in tears. "I didn't mean for it to go this far. He threatened me, Zainab. He said he would fail me if I didn't do it." "Halima, you had a choice." "But you chose to destroy me," Zainab replied, a voice heavy with sorrow. With no school willing to accept her and her family's resources drained, Zainab's future seemed bleak. Yet, her spirit remained unbroken. Determined to expose the corruption, she began speaking out, sharing her story on the social media and at community gatherings. Her activism caught the attention of investigative journalist Mr. Oke, who decided to document her journey. Together, they uncovered a network of corruption spanning multiple schools in Ibadan. Their expose led to several arrests, including Mr. Ajayi. But the scars on Zainab's reputation and psyche remained. Years later, Zainab became a lawyer dedicated to fighting systemic corruption in education. At a public rally in Lagos, she recounted a story to a captivated audience. "The system is broke, but it didn't destroy me," she said, her voice steady, despite the tears in her eyes. "We must fight for a future where no child's dreams are stolen by greed." In the crowd, Halima watched silently, tears streaming down her face. She had written countless letters to Zainab seeking forgiveness, but never found the courage to send them. As Zainab walked off the stage, Baba Adetola, now frail and grey, embraced her. "You have made me proud, my daughter." Looking at her father, Zainab whispered, "This is for you, Papa, for all the sacrifices you made." The story ends with Zainab standing tall, becoming a beacon of hope in a society still grappling with corruption. An unwavering resilience and inspiration, inspiring others to fight for justice. With that, we have come to the end of the story of the cheating game. Thank you for sticking to the very end. I believe you have learned a lot from this story. Please let us know what you think of this story or the lessons you've learned. See you in the next episode. Welcome, dear lovers of ghost stories, to another exciting episode in the ongoing How the World Became Corrupt series. This is the 4th episode. I hope you enjoyed the last episode, and that is talking about the cheating game. Without much ado, we want to look at the trap of corruption. Come along and let's dive right in. Alma was the pride of her family. She was the first to graduate from Kumasi University with top honors in finance. Growing up in a small village, Her parents sacrificed everything to ensure she received the best education. Her father, a retired teacher, often said, "Amma, education is the ladder that will lift this family out of poverty." When Amma landed a dream job at Global Ventures, a prestigious investment firm, her family's joy knew no bounds. Her mother had tears in her eyes when Amma left for the city. "Remember, my child," she said, gripping Amma's hand, "no matter what happens, always hold on to your integrity. That is the real wealth." Amma promised, unaware of the storm that awaited her in the city. Her first day at Global Ventures was everything she imagined. The office tower gleamed under the sun. It was a symbol of success and affluence. Inside it, the air buzzed with ambition. Amma was introduced to a team led by Mr. Mensah, a charismatic manager with years of experience. "Amma," he said during the meeting, "we have heard great things about you. I hope you're ready to lend the ropes." She nodded eagerly, determined to prove herself. But as Amma delved into her work, she noticed discrepancies in the client's accounts she was auditing. Transactions didn't add up, funds seemed to vanish, and signatures on documents looked suspiciously identical. She approached a supervisor, Kwame, a middle-aged colleague with a stern demeanor, and pointed out the irregularities. Kwame chuckled dryly. "Amma, you are new here. Don't overthink things. These numbers aren't your concern." "But isn't it our job to ensure transparency?" Amma asked, confused. Kwame's smile faded. "Listen, young lady, you want to keep this job? Do what you're told. No one likes troublemaker." Amma felt uneasy, but decided to approach Mr. Mensah directly. During the meeting, she explained what she had found and her concerns about the company's practices. Mr. Mensah leaned back in his chair, a smirk playing on his lips. "Amma," he said, "you are ambitious, and I like that. But let me give you some advice. In this industry, the rules are flexible. If you want to succeed, you must adapt. Otherwise, you'll be left behind." His words stung. Amma's dream job suddenly felt like a trap. She considered resigning, but her family situation weighed heavily on her mind. Her younger brother, Kwame Jr., needed school fees. Her father's health was deteriorating, and the hospital bills were piling up. If she quit, how would she support them? Amma reluctantly decided to stay, convincing herself it was temporary. Her first major assignment was to forge client signature on documents to secure a fraudulent deal. Her hands trembled as she signed the papers. "I'll stop once my family is secure," she whispered, justifying her actions. Weeks turned into months, and Amma's involvement in the company's schemes deepened. She inflated projections, facilitated bribes, and manipulated accounts. Her performance impressed her superiors, earning her praise and promotion. Her paycheck grew, and she was able to send money home regularly. Her father's health improved, and Kwame Jr. continued his education. But Amma's success came at a cost. She avoided looking in the mirror, haunted by the person she was becoming. One day, a new colleague named Linda joined the team. Linda was sharp, outspoken and unafraid to challenge authority. She quickly became friends with Amma, sensing her unease. Amma, have you ever thought about where all this leads? Linda asked one evening as they worked late. Amma hesitated. I know it's wrong, but I don't have a choice. My family depends on me. Linda frowned. That's what they want you to believe. But at what cost? Your soul? Your freedom? Her words struck a chord with Amma, and for the first time, she considered exposing the corruption. Linda encouraged Amma to gather evidence and report the company's practices anonymously. They spent weeks compiling emails, receipts, and documents. Amma felt a glimmer of hope, believing she could make things right. But the company's web of deceit was deeper than they realized. Before Amma could send the evidence to the authorities, her identity as the whistleblower was leaked. One morning, she arrived at work to find her colleagues whispering and avoiding her gaze. Mr. Benson called her into his office, his expression cold. You have made a grave mistake, Amma, he said, tossing a folder onto his desk. It contained copies of the evidence she had collected. How did you? Amma stammered, her heart pounding. We have our eyes everywhere, he replied. You think you can take us down? You are just a pawn in a much larger game. Amma was fired immediately, but the company didn't stop there. To protect themselves, they framed her for embezzlement, claiming she had stolen millions from clients' accounts. The media caught wind of the scandal, and Amma's name was dragged through the mud. Friends and colleagues distanced themselves, unwilling to be associated with her. Even her family, unaware of the full truth, began to question her integrity. One evening, a father called her. Amma, he said, his voice heavy with disappointment, we raised you to be better than this. What happened to the girl who valued honesty above all else? Amma couldn't bring herself to explain. She felt broken, abandoned, and trapped. Later on, Amma was arrested and faced a trial squarely. Despite Linda's efforts to defend her, the evidence against her was overwhelming, fabricated by the company, but convincing enough to seal her fate. As Amma sat in a prison cell, she reflected on her journey. Her dreams of success had been tainted by greed and corruption, and a desire to help her family had led her down a dark path. She wrote a letter to her brother, Kwame Jr. Dear Kwame, I wanted to give you a better life, but I lost myself in the process. Don't let the world change who you are. Always hold on to your integrity, no matter how hard it gets. I'm sorry I couldn't be the role model you deserved. With love, Amma. Amma's story became a cautionary tale, not just about personal choices, but about the systemic corruption that ensnares even the most principled individuals. A fall from grace highlighted how the world often punishes honesty and rewards deceit. In the village, a family mourned the loss of the bright, ambitious girl they once knew. A father would often sit by the window, gazing into the distance and sigh. Amma wanted to change the world, but the world changed her. That way, Amma still left a haunting question for all who heard it. How can we build a world that values integrity when the system itself is designed to destroy it? With that, lovers of good story, we have come to the end of this fourth episode, The Trap of Corruption. Thank you for watching to the very end. I believe you've learned quite some lessons from this episode. If you did, please go ahead to the comment section and leave with us your biggest takeaway from this story. Perhaps you enjoyed this story, but you haven't subscribed to this channel yet. Please kindly ensure you do that. Thank you always. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Welcome, dear story lovers, to the fifth and last episode in How the World Became Bad series. In this last episode, we will be looking at the title, The Influence of Social Media, an Illusion of Perfection. But before we dive right into the full story, I really wanted to share my sincerest gratitude to you for following through this series from the very beginning, where we looked at the corruption of an honest heart, the rise of a corrupt leader, the cheating game, and the trap of corruption. You are really an amazing audience. Thank you for following through. Now, as we consider the final episode, I really hope you will patiently watch with an open mind to pick away the intended moral lesson required to restore social sanctity that we all require to make our world great again. Let's go right into it. Kobe was like many young men in Lagos. He was full of dreams, but weighed down by reality. Once a promising university student, financial hardships forced him to drop out of school. Job applications yielded no results, and every rejection letter felt like another nail in the coffin of his ambitions. He spent his days scrolling through social media, where influencers flaunted luxurious lifestyles, trips to Dubai, sleek sport cars, and designer clothes. Sitting in his cramped one-room apartment in Mushin, Kobe thought, what if I could have that life too? One evening, Kobe borrowed his friend Femi's car, a shiny Mercedes-Benz, and parked it near a popular hangout spot. Wearing Femi's designer sunglasses, he snapped a selfie and captioned it, "Dreams don't work unless you do. #stay grinding." By morning, the post had gone viral. Comments flooded in. "Wow, you're such an inspiration. Teach us how to hustle like you." Another comment read, "Goals." Another comment said. Encouraged, Kobe staged more fake photos. He rented high-end clothes, posed outside luxury hotels he never entered, and posted motivational captions. Within weeks, his followers count exploded. Brands reached out with sponsorship deals, and soon his bank account began to reflect the illusions he had created. But that was a double life. Despite his online success, Kobe's reality was far from glamorous. He slept on a worn-out mattress in his tiny apartment. His neighbors often heard him on the phone, negotiating with creditors. "I'll pay you back next week, I promise," he would plead. At night, he would lie awake, haunted by the growing disconnect between his virtual persona and his real life. But every like, comment, and share fed his ego. One day, Kobe's younger sister, Ayo, visited him unexpectedly. She looked around the apartment, puzzled. "Kobe, I thought you said you moved to Lekki," she asked. Kobe stammered, I'm just here temporarily, overseeing some business deals." Ayo frowned but didn't push further. She admired a brother, and Kobe couldn't bear to let her down. Kobe's life took a turn when he received a message from Titi, a 16-year-old girl from Ibadan. Hi, Mr. Success. Your post inspired me so much. I've been saving all my money to start a business like you. Please, what's your secret? I'll do anything to live like you. Kobe stared at the message for hours. Titi's words stirred something in him. Guilt, perhaps? He knew his success was nothing more than a facade. But he also knew the truth could ruin him. So he responded, keep working hard. And one day, you will get there. Remember, success is a reminder. But Titi's message lingered in his mind. How many others am I misleading? Femi thought within himself. But there was the temptation to keep going. As Kobe's fame grew, brands offered more lucrative deals, but not all were ethical. A shady supplement company approached him with an offer he couldn't refuse. 10 million naira to promote their weight loss pills. But these pills are dangerous, Kobe told the company's representative during a meeting with them. Who cares? The man shrugged. People will buy anything if they sell it right. Besides, the money is good, or don't you want some money? Kobe hesitated but eventually agreed. He needed the cash to fund his giveaways and flashy videos. Their endorsement brought him even more followers and sponsors. Months later, the backlash came. Reports emerged of users suffering severe side effects from the weight loss pills that Kobe had endorsed. Some of the victims were hospitalized. The outrage was swift and unforgiving. Hashtags like #KobeExposed and #fraudulent influencer trended. His sponsors pulled out and fans turned against him. One message from a user read, I trusted you. My sister is in the hospital because of those pills. How could you do this to us? Kobe tried to defend himself, posting a video. I am deeply sorry for any harm caused. I didn't know the pills were unsafe. But his tearful apology only fueled the backlash. As Kobe's online empire crumbled, creditors began calling. Without sponsorships, he couldn't pay his mounting debts. Femi, his best friend, demanded his car back. Kobe, I can't keep covering for you, Femi said. You have changed, man. You used to be genuine. Even Ayo confronted him. You've been lying to us all along, haven't you? I looked up to you, Kobe. How could you? For the first time, Kobe felt truly alone. Desperate, he decided to sell everything of value, including his social media accounts. A tech company offered to buy his Instagram page for 2 million naira. It wasn't much, but it was enough to clear some debts. After handing over their accounts, Kobe felt a strange sense of relief. For the first time in years, he was free from the pressure to maintain an illusion. One day, as Kobe walked through Moshin's busy street, he saw a young boy selling plantains by the roadside. The boy reminded him of his old self before the social media illusions came in. Uncle, buy plantain, the boy said, smiling brightly despite his ragged clothes. Kobe bought the entire tray and sat with the boy. Hey, what's your dream? Kobe asked the little boy. I want to go to school and become a doctor, the boy replied. Kobe's chest tightened. He realized he had wasted years chasing an illusion while forgetting what really mattered. After that encounter, Kobe decided to write to Titi, the young fan who once admired him from Ibadan. Dear Titi, I have failed you. I made you believe in a life that wasn't real. Success isn't about flashy cars or designer clothes. It's about integrity, hard work, and making a difference in the lives of others. I hope you forgive me and find your own path, one built on honesty and purpose. Sincerely, Kobe. Years later, Kobe lived a quiet life, working as a volunteer for a youth mentorship program. He shared his story with young people, warning them about the dangers of chasing superficial fame. One evening, as he stood in front of a classroom filled with eager faces, Kobe said, "The world became bad because people valued appearances over substance. Don't fall into that trap. Be real, be honest, and never lose yourself in the pursuit of validation." The audience applauded, and for the first time in many years, Kobe felt a sense of purpose. He wasn't Mr. Success anymore, but he was finally at peace. Kobe's story reminds us that the pursuit of perfection on social media often comes at a price. His prevailing experience and realities serve as a powerful warning that true success isn't about how people see us, but about how we see ourselves. And with that, we have come to the end of this 5-part series. Thank you for being a part of this journey. Please remember to subscribe to Ben's Voice Narrative for more exciting content. Your support means more than a lot to the growth of this channel. Just a quick reminder, subscription is free and it's only done once. Stay tuned for the next content. Keep brightening up your corner with the lessons you've learned in this series.